What's up, guys? Luke here with the Iron Grind, and today I wanted to talk about two of the potential front runners for this year's 2019 Mr. Olympia. In Brandon Curry, of course, and Dexter Jackson, who a lot of people were writing off after his really subpar 2018 Olympia performance, and are now looking at a potential 2019 Mr. Olympia winner after his stellar 2019 Tampa Pro performance. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Dexter Jackson, his trainer, Charles Glass, wasn't able to train him for the 2018 Olympia. His dietitian, George Farah, had cancer and was having to recover from that throughout Dexter's entire prep for the Olympia, so he wasn't able to help him. So Dexter was basically on his own. He had the trainer Psycho Fitness, but it wasn't the same kind of synergy that Dexter needed. So after getting back with his two gurus, his dietitian and his trainer, he was able to bring a much better, much improved package to the 2019 Tampa Pro. What a lot of people don't really realize is that even for a veteran, doing a show alone is incredibly difficult. And when you have those people back in your corner, you can really make some improvements. And Dexter did. At 49, almost 50, he won his 29th pro win at the Tampa Pro. And we could be looking at him for the next Mr. Olympia. On the other side, we've got Brandon Curry, who a lot of people are looking at as the absolute top contender, most likely to win the Olympia. In a lot of ways, I agree. But without further ado, let's get into this comparison. Dexter Jackson, he looked really good, like I said earlier, at the Tampa Pro, better than he has in recent memory. But his midsection was still pretty thick, pretty blurry. He didn't have so much of as a bubble gut, but certainly had washed out and blurry abs. His legs, while improved, still aren't quite as thick through the hamstrings, through the inside as Brandon's are, and certainly aren't as deeply cut. And while, they're more cut than they've been in the past, but they aren't as deep as Brandon's been able to make his legs. It seems Brandon can't really bring up the size of his legs that much, but the separation he's able to have really improved, and that really helps the overall appearance of the lower body. Overall, Brandon's got the tighter midsection, better V-taper, thicker, wider, more vascular chest and shoulders and arms as well. So he's going to get the point for the front relaxed. Going into the front double, it's pretty close in this one, I have to say. Dexter certainly has muscle maturity head to toe in a way that Brandon doesn't. However, Brandon has such a slim midsection. This is from the finals. Much better lighting, and his limbs were fuller, but he looked like he carved up a little bit too much, and his midsection was a little bit thicker, a little bit more watery. But even still, his waist is tiny and tight, his abs are a little bit more cut than Dexter's are, and his lats and chest both flare out absurdly wide from an absurdly small and narrow midsection. His arms are huge and full, and that left bicep is striated to no end. His legs, like I said, he was a little bit more watery in the finals of this contest, but still very well separated. Not quite as crisp as Dexter's over here. So this one, I could see you going either way, but personally I'm going with Brandon for the bigger arms, the thicker legs, and the better V-taper overall. Next we got the front lat spread, and this one, it's pretty much all Brandon all day long. Dexter, he looks good in this shot, but he isn't very structurally suited for it. His right lat doesn't flare out as much as his left, and that's more because he's rotating the right shoulder forward more and flexing the pec a little bit more. And so he's scrunching it in and isn't able to show the lat to its fullest extent. It would be a slightly better lat spread if he were able to do to the right side the same that he was doing to the left, but maybe there's some rotational issues going on there. Brandon, on the other hand, no issues anywhere. He's wide as a house. There's barely any gap here. His chest is thick as hell. His shoulders are huge. This is like if Dorian Yates and Flex Wheeler combined in the front lat spread. It's a phenomenal pose. The only dock I have is that his quad sweep doesn't really match his upper body flare, and so it really takes away from that X frame. But it's not enough to win Dexter the pose against Brandon. In the side chest, though, Dexter starts a battle back. Brandon, yes, he's big and he has nice, square, thick pecs, and the far one is pretty well striated, and he's got a dry lower body, as well as a thick hamstring drop. However, Dexter's glutes are clearly thicker. The flow and the separation between the glute, hamstring, and the quad is stronger than it is on Brandon, as well as there's much better detail throughout the quad than there is on Brandon. Brandon's got a lot of graininess to the outer quad, but he certainly is missing the actual muscular details. Then Dexter has striations through the hamstring and the glute from the side, which is a really rare sight to see, especially today. His calves, both of them have really poor calves, but Dexter's are a little bit better. And then you go to the arms and the shoulders and the chest, and Dexter's just more polished and put together. The flow is stellar and something that almost no one today can surpass. I strongly and firmly believe that Dexter Jackson has one of the best side chests in today's era, if not of all time. Brandon is definitely beating Dexter in the midsection, but Dexter is still showing some good detail throughout the midsection, and it's not like it's really detracting from the pose all that much. So overall, Dexter gets the side chest. The back double bicep, it's thickness versus balance, really. Because Dexter, you can see his lower body, he's got more quad sweep, his hamstrings are a little bit thicker, certainly more cut up. Both of them have pretty cut up glutes, but Dexter's just seem a little bit more polished, like I said earlier. Even again, his calves, while not really any good, are still better than Brandon's also very subpar calves. Certainly thicker through the soleus here in that portion between the main muscle and the ankle. He's a little bit thicker through there, and that helps with the balance as well. Now, Brandon is certainly more symmetrical through the arms than Dexter is, with Dexter's left bicep and tricep being just flatter than his right, as well as his delt a little bit. But Brandon's left arm is still a little bit smaller. You can see that outer head of the bicep is still a little bit smaller than the right, as well as the tricep just isn't quite as full. So both of them have that left arm is just a little bit smaller. Both of them have good little X shape going through their back here with the separation, but Brandon is certainly thicker through the traps. It's stomping in this pose. But this one I can see you going either way. If you want the balance and the detail from head to toe, you would go with Dexter. If you want the thickness and the width and the wow factor, you go with Brandon. I'm going to leave this as an inconclusive, and y'all can let me know what you think in the comments. In the Christmas tree pose, though, that detail is winning it out for Dexter. I know this isn't a real mandatory pose, so I'm not going to deliver any kind of points here, but this is something to see. Is Brandon, while he's thicker and certainly wider through the lats, he's missing it in terms of the traps, especially the upper trap thickness and the overall detail through the lower back and the glutes and the hamstrings area. Whereas Dexter is stellar, top to bottom, head to toe. He's got phenomenal traps that are striated throughout, very thick, very great striated lats as well as spinal erectors. Amazing detail. Now Brandon has the shape, and it looks like he's got the genetic potential to potentially be the next Dexter Jackson once Dexter, if ever, he retires. But right now he just doesn't have it yet. Going into the back lat spread, and I think at this point in his career, this rear lat spread is Dexter's best pose by far. He shows amazing width, thickness, and muscularity that most people don't show at all, and he doesn't seem to show in a lot of his other poses. I'd say this and his side chest are probably his best shots. This pose shows amazing traps. It looks like, like Louis Marco used to say, the cobra eyes going on here, and it's really applicable. As well as his upper traps and rear delts and very full and rounded triceps create a really nice silhouette around the edge, and then his lats jut out at such a nice wide angle. I know I gave it to Luke Sando over Dexter Jackson, but that was simply because of the absurd size, width, and thickness and density that Luke had, head to toe. When you put Dexter next to Brandon, however, the lack of detail and the lack of polish and maturity, you can see here the upper traps just aren't there yet. The lats don't have the same kind of flare and taper, and the triceps and rear delts don't have the same kind of pop either. Not to mention the lack of quad sweep that we've mentioned before. Dexter, picture perfect here. Brandon still has some way to go. So obviously the lat spread is going to Dexter. The ab and thigh, though, this is where Dexter really shows his age, is in the midsection. And like I said, it's certainly improved, but he needs to do some work. Back in his 30s and earlier 40s, the fact that Dexter doesn't work his abs was, kind of cute. But now he needs to pull it together and work his freaking abs. Start doing some crunches, some reverse crunches, some vacuum stuff, some planks to really tighten up that lower midsection and bring out the detail through the abs. His obliques are ripped to the bone, and his very upper abs as well. It's detail around here, and then it's a soft turtle shell. here. Not to mention his thighs, while, like I said earlier, great, better than they've been, don't have the same kind of crisp, deep separation that Brandon's had, specifically in the prejudging at the Arnold. Talking about Brandon, his waist is a lot tighter, his abs are more defined top to bottom, and his lats are flaring out just as much, if not more, than Dexter. Both of them actually do have really good lat flare, really great vascularity, and amazing serratus right through here. That's those rib fingers that really add to the detail in poses like the front lat spread and the ab and thigh. The arms, I'd say Dexter's look a little bit better, as well as Dexter's chest is a lot more rounded and complete. But overall, Brandon's taper, tiny waist, and lower abs that he has head and shoulders above Dexter is going to win him the shot here. Then we get into the crab shot, and this is another one. Do you want thickness or do you want detail? Dexter's upper traps, obviously, he rolls them forward, pops them out. They look like beach balls on his shoulders, for crying out loud. And they're better than Brandon's. But in some ways, they overpower the rest of him. He's certainly improved that from some of his other showings. I know at the 2018 Arnold Classic and Mr. Olympia, his arms and shoulders seem to be a lot smaller compared to his huge traps. Here, it doesn't seem to be as bad of a discrepancy. But I will say his chest seems to kind of cave in towards his sternum, and then his stomach seems to pop out a little bit. If he were able to breathe in and expand his chest while also rolling his traps forward, he would be the easy victor in this pose. As it stands, though, Brandon's chest is fuller and wider, his arms are thicker, his shoulders are a little bit bigger, though he doesn't have that rear delt cap that Dexter has. And the legs, well, Dexter's a little bit better through the quad sweep, Brandon a little bit better through the middle. They're about on par. In the midsection, Brandon's just a little bit better. Neither of them really seem to be focusing on controlling it. It is a crab most muscular after all. I think I'm going to give this one another inconclusive and let you all decide which one you prefer, that detail and polish or that thickness and wow factor. In the hands class most muscular, though, this is Dexter's shot. He's just got the balance for it. His shoulders pop more than Brandon's can hope to at this stage in his career. His arms in this pose versus all the other poses actually look bigger than Brandon's, as well as more detailed and more symmetrical. He's hitting this pose really smart. He's turning his left wrist forward to show the bicep at its longest and its fullest, and really flexing in on the right arm, which is typically his bigger one, to show detail and make his arms be size-wise symmetrical. As well as now Dexter's actually showing better detail through the midsection than Brandon is, and the legs are about on par. Like I said earlier, the sweep on Dexter is a little bit better. He's a little more polished, whereas Brandon has a little bit better upper and inner thigh separation. Overall, I'm going to give this one to Dexter. Better traps, better delts, more striated chest and fuller arms, better midsection detail. You name it, he gets the shot. So overall, Brandon got the front double, the front lat spread. The back double was an inconclusive. Brandon, now I will say this, there wasn't a side tricep pose in this comparison. That's because I couldn't find one for Dexter in the photos. I could only find them in the video and didn't want to use a screenshot, whereas Brandon did have a side tricep, and his side tricep is better than Dexter's. So food for thought, Brandon's side tricep is better. Brandon also takes the ab and thigh, and then Dexter takes the rear lat spread pretty handedly. He takes the side chest as well, kind of handedly, and the most muscular. Some poses were inconclusive, so you could give them to Dexter if he was really on. So this is really an interesting comparison to see that Brandon Curry, who is currently the #1 top contender for the Olympia in a lot of people's eyes, because Rolly Winkler has shown that he's still inconsistent, he can't bring that 2018 Olympia shape, and William Bonac is really showing his blockiness lately. And Brandon Curry, after winning that 2018 Arnold Classic and posting these incredible, absurdly phenomenal posing videos, he's looking to be the best. But Dexter's really hanging in there and swinging, and is arguably tied or even better in a lot of these comparisons. Anyways, guys, that's a video. Some food for thought. Dexter Jackson could be the oldest Mr. Olympia in history this year, and wouldn't that be an amazing thing to witness? Dexter Jackson winning his second Olympia title and 30th pro victory, coming up from 7th place to winning the show at 49, almost 50 years old. That would actually, if I were Dexter, would be an amazing note to retire on. Unless he decided, screw it, I'm going to win a 3rd Olympia. And came back and did that. He has shown time and time again that age just doesn't matter. Even if he seems to be falling, you can come right back up. Anyways, guys, hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment what you think about those poses or what you think about this comparison or the state of bodybuilding in general today. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.